Hello, hello, hello. I am Danielle Victoria, and I'm going to share with you all about our decision to full time travel the world. And I will be reading off of my notes here because this is one of my first YouTube videos. I made one a few years ago about how we rescued our two dogs. I made a little one about matchmaking. And now this is a different style. This is where I'm going to be vlogging about our travels. And the door just opened, so that's odd. Okay, so how this all starts. This day last year, we sold everything and walked away from our home. We had a 5 bedroom, 3 bath, and 3 car garage in the middle of wine country in Southern California, and we loved our home. It was so amazing. We bought the place during COVID, so it was one of those COVID buys. We thought we didn't want to live in Los Angeles during this pandemic, and we wanted to be able to create a community and buy a small property that we could kind of cozy into during a pandemic. So, fast forward to 2 years ago, my husband, daughter, and I were in Croatia, and we were sitting there at the pool, and Elodie was playing in a baby pool. And all of a sudden, we were like, we could do this. We could do this full time. We literally could. But we can't have both. We can't keep the home and travel full time. It's just not in our financial means. Like, we just wouldn't be able to comfortably do both. And my husband and I are both very lucky. At the time, we both have remote jobs. So we knew that we could take our work with us anywhere. And so that already gave us a level of comfort knowing that we would be able to keep working. And a lot of slow traveling families that I've met throughout the years have kind of had two things going on. One, either they're taking a year off, like a sabbatical, or they are able to travel and work remote. So, just a little tidbit on the side. But going back to it, we woke up this day 365 days ago and walked out of our house for the last time. And I woke up in my friend's guest room that was fully furnished with all of our stuff that I had handpicked and curated for our home that years later we would sell. So it was a very unique and familiar way to start off on our full time travels. It was a unique way to be able to have the comfort of A, friends, and B, that we had all of our stuff kind of around us because they had literally bought out our entire guest room. It was really cute. All the furniture, all the pictures on the wall, everything. And they made sure to have it all hung up and all in order before we got there, which was really sweet. But on the other side of that, the friend that I sold everything to is a bachelor. And so he did have a lot of our stuff kind of scattered throughout his house. And I was like, oh, like, I remember having this photo here. And oh, I remember having this there. And it was really hard to be like, oh my gosh, here's a lot of my stuff. And it's just scattered in someone's home. So that was a little bit of a challenge at the beginning of this trip. What I would do differently, I don't know that there's much that I would do differently, but I think everybody would have this reaction where they would say, I just wish I had more time. And that is so true. I wish I had more time from when we made the decision to getting rid of everything. And technically, we had 3 months, but we didn't really start selling everything off until February. We we started getting rid of everything in February after friends came to visit our place from Pennsylvania. And it was a friend that I've been friends with for 20 years. And so it was kind of like this full circle moment when it was nice to be like, hey, like, look at our place, but we're getting rid of it in a couple months. Initially, we thought that we were selling the house. And then we decided last minute, because those friends came to visit, another friend came to visit, we decided, oh, maybe we could rent this out. And that would be really nice to kind of keep this house and still have those core memories and just know that we own the house where Elodie took her first steps, our first real home together, where we adopted our two sweet little puppies, where we came home with Elodie for the first time, everything like that. But this is what I would do differently for sure, is I would be more organized. And even though everyone would argue and say, oh my gosh, you were so organized, I would have been a little bit more organized on how we got rid of our stuff. And maybe I would have put some stuff into a storage unit. I don't know. I go back and forth on that one because there is some type of comfort in knowing. Okay, so there is some comfort in knowing that we don't have a storage unit. We don't have to go back and get rid of all of these things. that we really only have what is fitting in my husband's parents' closet. So it was 3 storage bins that you would typically put Christmas or Halloween decorations in, and then a couple little knickknacks and stuffies that our daughter refused to get rid of during this transition. So that's probably what I would have done differently is gave us more time. So we have the timeline of July in 2023, we started thinking about this. And then in April of 2024, we were walking away from our house, our home that we had built for 5 years. And now I am sitting at my parents' house, about to board a plane tomorrow with my 4-year-old daughter, my husband, and our Maltipoo. Originally, we were supposed to travel to Portugal last year with our dog, but there was some misunderstandings around the paperwork that we needed for him. So we had to cancel 3 weeks of our Portugal trip. And now I look back at it, I'm like, we got to cancel 3 weeks of our Portugal trip to spend more time with family and friends in Pennsylvania, which was really, really nice. And what ended up happening, long story short, and don't quote me on any of this, do not use this as a way to do your research for taking a pup abroad, is for our dog, we thought that we had to have a rabies and microchip within 21 days of travel, but it was out like we had to have it outside of the 21 days. So we had to get the microchip and rabies shot 21 days plus before travel. And then you have to get a health certificate so you can take him into the country, which is 10 days within your travel. And that is a whole entire stressful process. I found a woman on Instagram who travels with her dog full time. It's just her and her pup. And she does a whole course on this. And I promise not to gatekeep, and I will share that if I can re-find her in the links below. But going back to all of this is we really loved our place in Southern California. So this was a huge decision. There was nothing wrong with our place in Southern California. We just decided that we wanted a little bit of less things and more experiences together. And my husband and I both worked from home. We put our daughter in daycare 3 days a week, and that was wonderful. It was a perfect amount of time. She loved going to daycare. We loved having that time to ourselves to get our work stuff done. And then on, Thursdays and Fridays, we would also kind of navigate that. So that was really interesting. When my husband and I bought this home that we were living in, he was 27 and I was 34. And when we made this decision, we were 5 years older. So our priorities had changed, our thoughts had changed. COVID kind of reopened. Sorry for the little blooper there. COVID started to reopen things. And so that was really, 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 really nice that we were able to travel again. And so we would do these trips up until this point, and then we're like, okay, we are ready to full-time travel. So I will do another video on how we came to this decision, but what I would really like to talk about in this video is kind of more like, wow, we've been traveling for 1 year. What's our thoughts? What's going on? Reflections, point of views, fun stuff like that. So I cried a lot, and that surprised me. I did not think that I would cry as much as I did when we were moving out of the house. I kept thinking back to, are we making the right decision? Is this the right time? How is this going to affect our daughter? We have this community here. We know the doctors that we like. We know the restaurants we like. We know the places we like to go, our favorite parks, like all the things when you start to settle into a new home. And then you kind of start thinking about, but then the freedom, the flexibility. One thing I was not prepared for is that we ended up spending so much more quality time with our families. Now, up until this point, we made it a point to travel home at least 2 or 3 times a year, which I understand is completely different than most people. But we were living in California. My parents live in Pennsylvania. My husband's parents live in Colorado. So that was one of the things that we agreed on when we first started dating. We will prioritize family over travel, over everything else. And we both agree that we did that pretty well throughout this process. Now, before we left, which I was not really expecting, we've spent about 6 weeks in Denver, Colorado, and Boulder, outside of Denver, Colorado. I had a tooth issue, video for another time. I had to get a crown and get the crown taken off and get a root canal. It was the whole thing. It was like so messy. I was like, but I wanted to get it done before we started traveling. I was in so much pain. And then my whole dog thing happened. So instead of spending just 2 weeks in Pennsylvania, we ended up spending a little over a month. And I look back at that time and it was just so wonderful to spend so much time with family and be in their lives for the day to day stuff. That was awesome. Selling everything at first was really messy. It was really hard. I wanted to keep everything. Everything had a memory because think about it, for 5 years plus, you have curated all of these moments. A little backstory on me, my parents were divorced when I was about 11 or 12. So I was used to going back and forth and kind of having some stuff at my mom's, some stuff at my dad's, and just kind of living out of a suitcase for a little bit of my adult or a little bit of my, high school years. And I was fine with it, like, I didn't mind it. So when I decided to move to California from Pennsylvania, I only took, like, 3 or 4 boxes I had shipped out and then my luggage. So for years, I only lived with what would fit in my suitcase outside of the necessary furniture that I needed. And it wasn't until I met my husband and we started building a life together that I actually started collecting things and made a home for ourselves. So I would say that that was really hard to detach from, was getting rid of all of those things that I collected and had memories with. Like, for example, a coffee table that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace, and my daughter took her first steps with her friend. Like, she climbed up the stairs, so there was like things around that I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting rid of all this stuff. And then there's the dining room table that we had every single meal around for 5 years. So you start to be like, I just want to take all of this stuff with me. But then there's this other side to it where you start to think, well, what are the memories that we could make around a new kitchen dining room table? What are the memories we could make around a new coffee table? All right. So my daughter came in because she needed to get something out of here. So I'm getting interrupted. And by the way, I had a second to peek at the video so far, and I just want to apologize for how terrible my hair looks today. This is real. I'm about to fly tomorrow. I have to pack. We have a lot of stuff to do, but I just wanted to take a minute, actually probably more like 20 minutes, to kind of update you and share a little bit about what we're doing because a lot of people have asked us a lot of questions. And while we were home on this trip to Pennsylvania, and even in Colorado, a lot of friends and family are like, "Well, how do you feel? What are you doing? What are your thoughts like?" So I wanted to give you just a little backstory about our travels up until now, and I'll do that in a different video. But just kind of give you an overview of like how we're feeling, what we liked about what we did, what we didn't like, and all that stuff. But I guess today what I the part that I just really want to get across, the point that I really want to get across is we are really thankful and really happy that we'd made this decision and that we did this for our family. It has been a crazy shift in mindset, and I will get into that more as I'm uploading videos. It has had a lot of growth that goes along with it. There's a lot of fear, especially right now with the war going on in Iran. So it's been really hard. It was a hard decision to keep going. And over the last couple of weeks, we thought, yes, we're going to keep going. We had to pivot. And that is one thing that I will say that you learn a lot when you're traveling like this. Things get messy, crazy things happen, travel plans change, destinations that you once thought you were going to go to change. And yeah, so there's the key word is change. But I want to encourage you and motivate you that if there is something that you're considering that you want to do, if there's a life change that you want to make, if there's a blog that you want to start, if there's a vlog you want to start, if you want to travel full time, if you want to become a teacher or a nurse or whatever it is that you want to do, take those little steps to get you in that direction. And when I look back on our life overall, like there's all these lily pads that got us across the pond together, my husband and I. And I really, really want to see you. And I would love for you to share in the comments if this today, if you had a takeaway, or if anything about this video gets you one step closer to following what you want to do, what you feel called to do. Start that business, call that friend, hug your mom and dad, hug your pets, do the things that bring you joy, but also get yourself closer to the life that you want to live. I had all these notes about things that I really wanted to talk about for today, but I'm going to scratch all that because right now I really hope that in the last 10 minutes, 12 minutes of the video that I just did, that there's something, that there's a point, that there's a reason why you listened today, that there was something that drew you in that makes you feel called to follow your dreams. And Thank you so much for listening to me today. The last piece of advice that I would like to give you today, and I'm going to read it from here, is that sit and give yourself time to really meditate and think about what you want your life to feel like, what you want your life to look like, how you want your days to feel, how you want your nights to feel, and let that live rent free in your head so that way you can work towards those goals. Thank you for watching today, and until next time.